Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today's video is episode 2 in the new series I've started, which is called In Conversation With. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking to another author named Tomson Robert. And what we're going to be discussing is his latest book, Let Love Take Over. Now, Let Love Take Over is basically the story of the main protagonist, Joshua, who is a character that loves being a hero. And he loves following his heart and also standing up for what he believes in. But then some incidences happen in Joshua's life that kind of shake this belief system that he has, and it causes him to kind of go against all of this notion of being a hero and standing up for the things that he feels is right. All of this changes when he meets the love of his life, Susan, who is a girl that always challenges him, forces him to confront the demons of his past, and also kind of gets him back on the path of becoming the hero that he was always supposed to be. And basically, this is the story of love, it's a story of friendship, and it's a story of having the courage to follow your passions. And I spoke about all of this with the author Tomson Robert. So yeah, here is the interview. Thank you so much, Tomson, for agreeing to this interview. Before we get started, maybe if you could just introduce yourself.
So my name is Tomson Robert. I'm basically from Kerala. Right now, I'm living with my family in Dubai. I've been working here. But the interesting stuff I do is that I write books. I've written 3 of them right now, starting from 2016, which is my first book. It's a collection of short stories that is there. Work, life, and the balance in between. That's a collection of short stories. Secondly, the book I wrote in 2019 is Alumni of the Year. And now my latest book is Let Love Take Over. I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversations on that on this show right now.
Like you mentioned, this is the 3rd book that you've written. And the first one was a collection of short stories. Second one was centered around friendship. And this one, a major theme of the book is around love. It's about the message of love or the strength of love. So what inspired you to tackle this aspect, or like a love story or love in general, in your book?
Okay, so there are 3 threads to this one, right? And I must confess that I didn't start off thinking that I'm going to write a romantic fiction, anything like that. I started off, as a child, I used to listen to the story of David and Goliath, which my grandfather used to tell me. So there's nothing new over here, but I wanted to make a modern version of David and Goliath. Now, when I started writing this story, I initially took up political subject, some startups and everything, and the characters were becoming unrelatable. The scenarios and the characters were very unrelatable. And for me, as a writer, it was getting boring. So I decided to rework and make the characters relatable. And that's when I created characters like Joshua, like Susan, like Kavita, who, when you read the book, it's everyday characters, right? They're ordinary people. And I took these everyday characters and put them in extraordinary circumstances and to see how they behave in those situations. And even the situations is something which we often face in our life. It's nothing new over there. Situations is something which we generally face. And once I made it relatable, I wanted to make it entertaining also. So I added a bit of humor, tried to bring in a wow factor. And then I realized the thread that tied in all this is love. And that's when I titled the book, Let Love Take Over. And that title has an emphasis in the book because that's the transition that happens to that character in the book.
Correct. You mentioned David and Goliath. And the whole dynamic of being a hero, which is a major part of Joshua's character arc, which is kind of like what he believes in, because he also is a fan of David and Goliath in the book. How did that come to your mind about a character?
I think from ordinary things that I've seen in my daily life, and that's where the inspiration for the character Joshua came in. Something which I have gone through, something which I've seen others go through as it is, right? Because ultimately, right, there is always scenarios in our daily life where we need to take a stand. Sometimes we let it go because it may not be worth fighting for. But sometimes you need to take a stand. Now, the problem with taking a stand is you have to live with the consequences of those stands. when you take. That can be, maybe there's not much consequences, maybe there can be dire consequences in this one. And that's how this heroism concept came into picture, where, when I said in the beginning, I want to make a modern version of David and Goliath. So David also, emerged as a hero, and that's what he explored to the story of how Joshua is emerging as a hero, but it's not something like out of this world. It's a very ordinary story, but you see the character evolve. In my childhood, when I was a teenager, there were some situations where, like the first chapter of the book, if you've read, right?
Yes.
There's an incident in the train. That actually didn't happen exactly like that, but it had happened to me when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
And from that story, it didn't end up well. I took a stand. I got beaten up because of it.
Right.
But at least I took a stand at that point in time. And that kind of inspired me to frame that situation and write that character. Of how ultimately he becomes a hero.
So since you said that you also love David and Goliath and this whole train accident happened, did you draw a lot from your personal life to put into this character in this book?
Everybody gets influenced, right? So I think you get influenced by your own life, and you get influenced by others' life that you've seen and come across. Right. And that's how writing is done. You take inspiration from that, and then you put in your characters over there and see how they would react towards the situations, right? Sometimes you do things like, you wish you had done, right?
Yeah.
In some scenarios, if you like. For example, I'll tell you this incident. There is a chapter on a wedding, right? And that kind of happened in my wedding also, where there was a potential to rain. And we actually shifted the wedding from outdoor to indoor. We shifted it from outdoor to indoor. Now, my wife wanted an outdoor wedding, but in the story, I've tried to narrate it in a different way, and if you read it, you'll find it out.
Yeah, and it was very beautiful that they just what happened to them during their wedding. So.
Correct. And I wish I had done that. So you draw inspiration. Not exactly what happened. You pick up the pieces. Maybe make it better, make it more entertaining in that way. It's kind of an assembly. That's how stories are built.
Yeah, you can romanticize the situation as to however you want.
You can romanticize the situation. Correct.
Yeah. So you had mentioned previously about how Joshua's character arc is all like when he takes a stand. It's all about love, and like we mentioned before, that love is a huge part of this story. The whole genre of love and love story seems to be quite saturated these days, where a lot of people have attempted writing love stories. So what I wanted to ask you was, like, what was the hardest part of tackling love as a concept in your book?
The answer is that I didn't start off thinking that it would be, love would be the thread as it is, right? I wanted to create a story that inspires people, that is relatable, and that's entertaining. And that's how I started off. Now, the hardest part was once we had put all these things together, right? You need to make your story unique. And every writer would say this. I would also say that this story is unique. I genuinely feel it because I can, now that the reviews are coming in and I've been receiving, a lot of people are connecting with Instagram. There's one person who said this, that person picked up the book thinking it's something. But when that person started reading, it's that something plus. More than that something, right? And that's the story when you realize it's not your traditional, typical boy meets a girl kind of a story. And there are three things that differentiate, right? What I've done on purpose. One is Joshua and Susan, there's a love story, but there is also the relationship that's explored between a grandson, Joshua, and his grandfather. There is also how the relationship between a son and a dad that's explored. A friend, Joshua as a friend to Kavita, that's explored. So it's not just a boy meets a girl, typical love story that's there. Another aspect that is explored is, you need to have a love for your passion in order to follow them. And that's coming through Joshua's story of what he loves to do and what he's actually ending up doing and how he has the courage to stand up for that. And finally, when you know things, there are things that you love, you need to be willing to take a stand for those things. And that's what There are three things that I would say the book is different from typical love stories.
Yeah. And I think that's great, because I feel nowadays with the whole boy meets girl thing being so overdone, you do need that slight plus or something extra to hook readers.
Correct.
Because otherwise it's like, how many times can you have the same story again and again?
How many times will the boy meet the girl?
Yeah. Exactly. Now, like, one more thing which I actually noticed, which was different about your book, that yes, I mean, authors have done it, but not a lot of people attempt it, is having a non-linear structure of storytelling. So basically the story is told through, like, there is a present day situation and then there are flashbacks to what happened. So and sometimes it can be quite difficult to pull this off, I feel. In any form of storytelling, having flashbacks sometimes can be a bit jarring, but it didn't feel that way in this book. So what inspired you to take this kind of, non-linear form of storytelling and this kind of narrative structure?
So, I mean, you've touched the right notes over there, right? I mean, non-linear, there are two reasons why I do that, right? And I do it on purpose. First one is, right, see, it takes time to build a character by describing the character, by making character having conversations, and then come to the main part of the story.
Right.
The advantage of a non-linear is that you can literally bring the end to the beginning of the story, which creates more interest. And as I, putting myself in the reader's shoes, feel that that's more interesting way to get into a story. The second aspect, and this is the main aspect in this story that I've used, right, is that certain decisions that the characters take in the present are wired off certain experience in the past. Now, in a non-linear way, you can put a present situation of the character, time jump to a backward situation where certain incident happened, and then you can come back to the present and tell why the character takes certain decision. This is relatable in a non-linear way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is very risky.
Yeah.
So, you can get lost. You can get lost in this time jump. I'm glad. The biggest fear I had when I was releasing the book, I kept asking everybody, whoever read it initial draft, so did you understand that there is a time? Did you understand?
Exactly.
Because I was scared. But I think now that people have read the book, reviews are coming in place, I think we managed to pull it off thanks to my editors and publishers also for this one. But it's interesting, and I think that's what makes the book more interesting in terms of the non-linear narration. Yeah,
definitely. It definitely keeps you hooked, because it's the unfolding of information also, where in the present day you have certain questions. Okay, why is this person acting this way? Why are they saying this? What happened exactly? And then slowly through the flashbacks you get the answer. So it's also a way to keep readers' interest, which I think was quite interesting. So out of the 3 books that you've written, story wise, they've tackled different issues. So the first one was about work life, the second one was about friendship, and this third one was, love is a huge theme. So out of these 3, which did you like tackling the most, and or rather, which gave you the most satisfaction?
So you mean of these 3 books?
Of the 3 books that you've written?
I've felt, the diplomatic answer will be to say, let love take over. Yeah. But the truth is, for me, my personal favorite alumni of the year, because it kind of helped me relive my childhood days while writing that book. My friends were able to connect it a lot.
Right.
And they came back, because certain situations of the book, when the guy or the girl reads it, they understand. This is that situation. So it was in that way, that is my favorite book as it is. That is there. But we have to keep writing, and hopefully the next work will be even better.
Yeah. And I think I can see that even in Let Love Take Over, because there are a few chapters in the beginning which is about Joshua's school days, and some of the instances that you mentioned, like the train journey in the very first chapter, there's so many things like playing teen patti in the train. It's things that everyone goes through and that was very relatable for me also to see that the characters go through that.
So, that is. So I guess I started writing this book after I published Alumni of the Year. Probably the hangover was there.
Yeah.
That's why I started with a school train journey situation. But, just interesting point, now that you mentioned empathy and all this stuff, right? A lot of things that you do during while you're writing, right, influences you. And I'll take 2 examples over here, right?
Yeah.
Empathy, I never played as a kid. Like, I'm from Kerala. I don't think Empathy is a popular game over there. I don't think so, right? But the book, how it came is because during the pandemic, and we live in this apartment, right? And our daughters, friends, parents, we all used to meet together and play Empathy quite a lot.
Okay.
Right? And that influenced me. And that's how it came. Another game that you'll find is Monopoly. So all these are games which we played during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't go out of the house, you have to play these games. So, and although in the story it fits in seamlessly, right? Yeah. How these have been put in place over there. But these are the influences. I'm just telling you, the backstories behind all this and the inspiration to pick these up.
Right. No, but it fits perfectly because my friends and I have actually played Teen Patti in a train. It fits.
Yeah, Teen Patti is a common thing. Like, and I don't know in South, but now I'm sure in Mumbai and North India, I'm sure Teen Patti is like. I mean, Diwali, now I realize that you have to play Teen Patti. So maybe bursting crackers. Like now I realize, that you have to play Teen Patti for Diwali. And you have to lose or win money at that point in time. So we used to play, which game we used to play? We used to play the popular game we used to play in train cars was Rummy. Rummy was, that was a popular game that I used to play. But I didn't put Rummy because at that point in time, in my life, right now when I was writing the book, I was playing Teen Patti.
The last question I want to ask before we wrap it up is, if you have any advice to give any young authors who either have a dream of writing a book or who are now in the process of writing a book, what is that one piece of advice that you would give them?
Writing has to be from inside. It has to be something which you are passionate about that subject in order to write. If you take someone else's subject, someone else is passionate about some story which you don't relate to, you will never finish that book. So if it is one thing that I could say to aspiring writers is find something which you are passionate about writing and write on that. It doesn't matter whether that is trending or whether that is what the readers will never know. But if you write what you're passionate about, that passion comes out of the story, and that story will do well, right? And I found that out that does well in this. One more piece of thing that I always thought writing was it. Once you start the book and finish the book, that's it. But no. To get published is a whole new different ball game altogether. So it's 50% writing and 50% there are other things to do once you finish the book. Do get exposure to those aspects also. Plan in advance. That has always helped me. So this book Shrishti has published, and they have a great network and reach, which ensures that the marketing, the distribution aspect is taken off from me. Whereas last 2 books I published were self-book, where I had to play a lot of role in that way. And so finding a publisher, editing the book, cover design of the book, planning the marketing activities is equally important as writing.
And I think very few authors realize that writing is, like you said, is half the battle won. Then you have to get people to read it. And that's
and there's a lot of clutter out there. You got to make your ultimately I have this, I didn't coin it, I've heard this word of authorpreneurship, right? You are the CEO of your book. Like you got to see it as that. And you have various departments in this, right? Writing department is one department. There's editing, marketing, design. All these have to be in sync, and you got to look at all these aspects. And what I'm trying to say is now, thanks to technology, publishing a book, there are various means. You can self-publish, you go to traditional publishers. You can do it on Kindle version. Now, because of it, a lot of people are publishing. Now, how do you make your book stand out and distinguish from the clutter? That's the real challenge.
Lastly, so I just want to say that if you guys want to check out Tomson's book, I will leave the link in the description. You guys can check it out over there. But Tomson, if you have any last words as to why readers should read this book, just for you to let them know. But link will be in the description. You guys can check it out and buy the book from there. But yeah, any last words from you as to why readers should pick up this book?
No, I mean, thank you. If you watched till here, thank you for watching this. Really appreciate it. We have done something right.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think in this book, what I would say is, like what I had said earlier, some reader had said to me that person picked up this book thinking it's something, but
Correct.
There was something more than that. It was a plus. Yeah. And that's the reason that you should try reading this book, because it is a page turner. And at the end of the book, I'm sure, at least I have tried to leave you with a wow factor and an inspiring factor.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, it does.
But
it
thanks,
definitely.
Suti, for having me on your channel.
So yeah, thank you so much, Tomson, for coming on here. This was great fun. And yes, like I said, you guys can check out the book. Link will be in the description. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.